There was shame, there was embarrassment, there was denial. My sense was, how can I be an alcoholic? I've still got a flat. I've got a car.
Yeah. I'm not homeless. I'm not on the street.
And I wasn't an alcoholic on a bench. So there was denial on one half, but I was broken.
Welcome to the Silent Epidemic by Omnia Therapy. I'm your host, Hatice Mehmet-Quirk. Today I'm joined by David Charkham, a true pioneer in the world of addiction and recovery coaching. David developed his recovery skills program in 1989, long before recovery coaching became a recognised field, and has spent over 3 decades supporting individuals on their path to sustainable recovery. After 22 years as an NHS recovery skills specialist, David now focuses his work within the business and entertainment industries, bringing his expertise to some of the most high-pressure environments. David's influence extends internationally. He is an ambassador for the Cabin Rehab in Chiang Mai, Thailand. He's spent the last 15 years presenting workshops at Castle Craig Hospital in Scotland, and recently he returned to the Priory, Roehampton after 25 years to bring his workshops to a new generation of patients. Before his life in recovery, David spent 17 years as a professional actor, with his final role being Keira Knightley's father in The Imitation Game, a testament to the rich and varied life experiences he brings into his coaching. David, welcome to the show.
Hello.
Hello. Let's begin by going back to the 1980s. What inspired you to develop the recovery skills program, and what did the recovery landscape look like at that time?
Okay, well, it's a huge question because in the 1980s, my life changed dramatically. In 1986, I entered Cloud's House Rehab.
Nice.
Which changed and saved my life. Initially, I was rather insulted that they dared suggest that I was an addict, an alcoholic. And it's interesting about the landscape changing, because then there wasn't a great deal of awareness of alcoholism and addiction other than in the medical profession. This is pre-mobile phones, internet, but also pre-Hello Magazine. So this is also pre-celebs outing themselves. So there was shame, there was embarrassment, there was denial. My sense was, how can I be an alcoholic? I've still got a flat. I've got a car.
Yeah. I'm not homeless. I'm not on the street.
And I wasn't an alcoholic on a bench. So there was denial on one half, but I was broken. My life had gone into serious rock bottom, and with the addiction, I carried the trunk of active addiction, the shame, the anger, the resentment, the jealousy. And for me, having been a child actor and fairly well known, for me, I was in the gutter, but I had an ego, and it was like, but you don't know who I used to be, or you don't know who I was. So a lot went on, and I can proudly say that I was taken to rehab by a dear friend. And interesting enough, I got high. I turned on, as we said, in the 60s with this man, in the 60s, mid-ish 60s, and he drove me to rehab in the 80s, and it was Lionel Bart, who was a great influence and a wonderful talent, and he had been in Clouds the year before me.
Right.
So, so I go there, and it's a weird setup, because my father was with Lionel, and he said, "Oh, David, this looks between the army and a public school." I mean, what did we know? Nothing. Dormitories, and I was not a spring chicken. I was mid-30s, and I got there, and I'm detoxed. You see, there were no health warnings about once they take the drink and drugs away, you're going to be hit with a big surprise, and that's you.
Yeah.
And you're also going to be hit with a huge surprise, is you're going to get your feelings back. And as is now said, the good news about recovery is you get your feelings back. The bad news about recovery is you get your feelings back. So that was going on. But on another level, I was broken, I was ready, and who knows, that wonderful golden window of opportunity, 2 minutes before, might not have wanted it, 2 minutes after, I said, I'm not that bad. That was the classic. So I'm poured into Cloud's house in January 1986, and they say this weird stuff. They say, well, David, you're not going to get well unless you can be completely honest. Now, what did that mean? I mean, I reflected on that. So, wait a minute. Completely honest? What are you talking about? I'd survived all those years, and for the first half, very successfully, couple of cards up this sleeve, couple of cards up that sleeve. I show you a bit and show you a bit. Never
The for me.
warts and all. And that was hard. But that wasn't my plan. And I like that saying. If you want to make I call it, sometimes people call it God or a higher power, and I call it HP Productions. So I had my plans, and HP Productions had completely different plans. Do you think I thought I'd be sitting here at the unkind age of 70-something talking to you about this stuff? I should be across the road in that theatre. But that wasn't the plan. But what an extraordinary learning curve for me, because, well, first of all, no one warned me what it's like when you leave the protective bubble of rehab. Therein lies the seeds of my future career, which I didn't know about. And I was very angry. Why was I angry? I was angry because I assumed you go to rehab, you do what's suggested, you go to your meetings, you help make the tea, or you do service, and you're honest and respectful. Therefore, my career should come back. The fantasy was, because I'd been a good boy, David's career would come back, possibly on a little velvet cushion. And that didn't happen. And that was the first. I suppose that was the first bit of reality that slapped me around the face. Why didn't it happen? And it was painful, and it was frustrating.
Because really, when you say it like that, that could have been a knock for you in that, actually, do you know what? If I do this, then I'm going to get my career back, and it's all going to fall in line for me, and it's all going to be perfect, and I'm going to live this life in recovery with a wonderful career. Then when the career didn't come, that could have been the knock that brought you, brought you straight back to that life of...
It could have been a massive trigger. And also, that mood-altering substance called pride came into it. So what was I doing? I'm trying to get a job as an actor. I can't get arrested. I can get a job as an extra, as a walk-on. Okay, I appreciated the money.
But it wasn't
then I'd
what
be
you
on a
was
set
looking
where
for.
you hang around most of the time, as most people know, that you spend maybe 4 minutes in front of a camera and then 14 hours hanging around. And occasionally someone would come up and say, "Hi, David." And I thought, where do I know you from? And then the penny would drop. And I'd say to someone, "Who's that?" And they said, "That's an executive producer." And I said, "Wait a minute, wasn't he the third assistant stage manager when I was in Hair?" Which was then a huge, huge hit. So I had to deal with that. And then my mentor, really, and my mentor about the world of recovery, and he was an actor, again, long gone, but bless his heart, he was called Dudley Sutton. A wonderful actor, a beacon of recovery, and, as I would have said, a true mensch, And I saw Dudley one day, or Dudley saw me. I'm standing in the King's Road as an extra, hanging around, it's probably weather like this, you're cold, you're fed up, waiting for a cup of tea. I'm not an extras queue up, you don't have to. So I'm doing that, grumpy. And I see Dudley, and, "All right, David." And I let him out. I said, "Dudley, you don't understand. I'm doing everything I'm meant to be doing. I'm doing the meeting, doing service, got a sponsor, blah, 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 making tea. And I can't get arrested as an actor." You know what he said to me? And he had a beatific smile. He said, "David," he said, "have you ever considered your higher power's got bigger plans for you than you could ever understand today?" And that was 37 years ago. Here I am doing this. Never planned it. It all happened. HP Productions, right? Sort of by accident. Anyway,
So do you feel like that planted the seed?
No, I don't think it did. I think what happened was, do you know that expression, a sliding doors moment that changed your life? I was still struggling, and then they opened the first men's halfway house that was linked to Cloud. So they were coming out, and it was a house in Clapham for maybe 10, 15 men. Now, it sounds so bizarre, but though way back when, if you were an art therapist, a drama therapist, a dance therapist, a reflexologist, you were like weird juju witch doctor, weirdo, unless it was a small group of maybe hippies or something. So they got this woman to open this men's halfway house, and she was an art therapist. She was fantastic. She was also a family therapist. She knew her stuff, but she was kind of left field, a bit like me. Blom, her name was Blom, and she said, Dudley, look, you're an actor, you've got great communication skills, you're in recovery, come and talk to these men. And Dudley said something that changed my entire life. He said, I'm too busy, but there's this guy called David Charkham. And that's where it started.
Right.
So I find myself, and I was very, not shy, you know, open the fridge door, I go into my act, but I was a bit shy then. But I was, what's the word? Not sure. I felt less than. If I was meeting you and you had letters after your name, I would feel less than. You've got a degree, you've got a qualification. Because my qualifications are nil. I'm chucked out of school. They tried their best. Loving parents spent God knows how much trying to educate me, and I'm out. I didn't even get to O levels. Maybe it was 14 3/4. I'm out. And I went to what they called stage school. So my training was in the theatre and performance. So I got one certificate, I think it was tap dancing. It was mainly qualification. So I felt less than talking. Anyway, I was a bit spaced out because she was a therapist. And she said, no, I think you're going to be all right. And she gave me a book on drama therapy, but it was written by someone with a load of titles after their name. So I thought, anyway, I did it. I got there and I found myself on a Friday morning in Clapham, and I walked into a room. There's these 10 men, arms are folded. They're going, oh yeah, look at him. Look at the state of him. What's he got? Look at his socks. And it came to me. What would I have liked for someone to come to me when I was just about to leave this protective cocoon, which is needed, out to the real world? Boy, it was a bloody big shock, because had I done life, and I was a Pimlico, I was in London all my life. Had I done London without a drink or a drug? Had I asked anyone out with a drink or a drug? Had I, etc., all those parts of one's life that one does. I'd always needed my
touch courage.
Yeah, my chemical sleeping blanket, my chemical duvet. I was raw, and I was a lot rawer than I knew. So one short story is, I get on a bus, I'm out of rehab 2 weeks, and for people that may not have experienced rehab, you are together day and night. You're eating, living, sleeping, this whole world of recovery. So if you get freaked out, there's always someone there who can understand, because they're all singing off the same hymn sheet. And that's fantastic and it's needed. But when you leave, they don't come with you. So I get on this bus, I go upstairs, there was a bus conductor, and he's taking tickets, going, all right, ticket, Victoria, okay. And he comes to me, goes, all right. And I've gone, no, my life's unmanageable. And the bus conductors kind of looked at me and gone, obviously somebody just let out a summer sigh. He didn't need to know my life was unmanageable. He didn't need to know my frigging life story. He didn't need to know anything.
He only wanted your ticket.
Yeah, that's what he wanted. But so I had to learn quite quickly.
Just a quick break from today's episode. If you've ever tried to get therapy, you know how frustrating it can be. You're finally ready to talk to someone, but you've been stuck on a waiting list for months. That's not how mental health support should work. Omnia Therapy makes getting help simple. You can book a session with a fully qualified professional in just 24 hours. No waiting, no contracts, just real support when you need it. And at £40 per session, it's actually affordable. If you're struggling, don't wait. Tap the link in the show notes or head to omniahealthgroup.com to book your session today. So you created the Recovery Skills Program in 1989, well ahead of its time. What were its key principles and how have they evolved over the years?
Well, the key principles were, number one, welcome to reality. Number two, it's going to hurt. And number three, there isn't a pink cloud, because sooner or later we all get a curveball. And then in my groups, as I would then, and I still do, I may say, look, okay, so I have been abstinent for 39 years now. However, it doesn't mean to say it's made me immune from life. I said, if you take a chunk of time People are born, people die. It's good news, it's bad news, it's health, it's sickness. You're loved, you're divorced. That's life. But I've survived that because I have got a band of fellows who understand me, who sing off the same hymn sheet. I don't mean that in a religious, but I mean that in a sense of we're a group of people who can admit we're vulnerable. We're a group of people who know it's not all right all the time. But we learn the coping skills, and that's the essence of what the Recovery Skills Group is about. Not that I go in and say, I'm David Charkham, this is what you do. The essence of my group is helping people to help themselves. There's no, and I say, but when I go into workshops now and they're in rehab, and it can be pretty scary in rehab, you're a bit kind of, ooh, and I walk in, they never see anyone like me. I start with a bit of music, it might be a bit of Bill Withers or a bit of Bob or something, everything's going to be all right. So they think, what's this guy? Where's he come from? And I go, okay, I'm David Charkham. I'm also a recovering addict and alcoholic. I want you to relax. I'm not a therapist. I haven't come to therapy you. I'm going to share some experiences to help you brace yourself for reality. And we take it from there. And then I'll roll with anything, like what you think might trip you up. But when I did it, see, now I just do it monthly. But when I used to do it weekly, I'd take people on long journeys, men and women, with reality, i.e. anything that came up. So, okay, let's role play it. You're going for a job? Let's do it. Just from walking in the door, let's look at the body language, the eye contact, that kind of stuff. Or the other thing I'd never had any experience of looking at anyone in the eyes and going, no, no, I don't want to do that. Oh, sorry, I've got to go. So it's the language. So
After more than 2 decades working as an NHS recovery skills specialist, what core lessons did you carry from that experience into your private practice?
Well, similar theme, it was different. I mean, I was what would be described as at the cliff face. I worked at St Mary's, Paddington, and I worked there 3 days a week. And but there were street addicts and alcoholics with nothing. But the essence is the same, because the early experiences were actually with Robbie Williams.
Right.
I'm not breaking any anonymity. I was a friend of his. Actually, I was a friend of his manager, and we became friends, and he invited me to go around the world with him just as a mate. I didn't know what was going to happen. I didn't know what I was doing, really. Just being me and comfortable with my journey. Why am I talking about that? I'm talking about that because what an apprenticeship. Monday, Wednesday, Friday, I could be working with street addicts and alcoholics, literally sleeping on the pavements of Paddington and West London. And on a Tuesday and Thursday, I could be in a private jet with some superstar. So it was very important that I didn't know that I get the call from the Osbournes 20 years later. What did I know? But when that happened, I was ready. So it's always, we can all be smart after the event. And thank you for these questions. It makes me think, oh, what happened? Oh, then I did that, and then that. And that information was there, and then there's something filed away to make it comfortable.
Nice. How did your time within the NHS shape your understanding of the systemic needs of people in recovery?
Okay, first of all, what do you mean in the word systemic? What does that mean?
So, someone goes into recovery. What is the system they need in place?
Well, the system is quite simply, number one, they've got to be ready. Because I've seen people not ready, who say they're ready, but they're not ready and they don't make it. So it's becoming willing, that's the word, isn't it? They become willing to understand that it's not working anymore. I mean, I have done quite a lot of short videos, clips, but the one I'm really the most proud of, it says, is drinking costing you more than money? So that's the essence, it's becoming ready. It's in accepting that you don't know it all and walking into treatment. And you know, this is the difference between David Charkham in previous attempts to start. I go to some professional place, I go, can you help me? I need some help. I might have got it, but I could never stay sober. It was only when I walked into Clouds in January 1986 and I went, help me. I am dash dash. Begins with an F, ends with a D, that word, but I am done. That was it. The gift of surrender.
Yeah. So for you, that's the starting point. Someone just putting their hands up fully and accepting that actually this way of life isn't working for me and I need to change something.
Exactly. But it's interesting with the journey because if we've got people coming in that then we were detoxing. You see, the other thing is, I mean, I was very lucky. I went into the NHS and a lot of people were, who is this guy? Where's he from? What planet's he from? Because then I think this was the Central and North West London Mental Health Trust. It probably had 40,000 employees. It was massive, Westminster, Paddington, North London, massive. And I think there were probably only 2 of us who worked under that huge umbrella that outed ourselves as recovering alcoholics. So that threw up quite a lot of issues. Now I can get it now. I think there was, in some areas, there was quite a lot of heavy drinking in that profession. And I think some people might have been a bit threatened by, who's this guy? Some actor who dressed as funny. What happened was, I was living in Pimlico, I'm struggling, a bit of acting, but this group had started in Clapham, and I walked into the library. You've got to remember, this is around the times of the AIDS explosion. And there was a sign on the library, help, funding for support for addiction. I thought, I know, this looks interesting. So I wrote a rather embarrassing letter because I write like a child because I didn't, I call it stage school scrawl. So I wrote this handwritten letter, probably misspelt letter, say, look, I'm living in Westminster. I'm a recovering addict. I'm working with these people. I've got a reference from the guy. I think I may have something that could help you. 24 hours later, I get a phone call from Westminster City Council. We think you've got something here. Can we meet you? I knew nothing. What I didn't know is that Westminster City Council have been paying a huge amount to a very well-known public relations company, who's probably inappropriate for me to name, but a tip on everyone's tongue, massive, who charged them a fortune for putting yellow ribbons on lampposts, hiring personalities to go to schools and say, don't take drugs, etc., etc. Never worked. Did lots of fancy presentations. But the opposite is me with my bit of paper. And it was the police, and it was the social services, and it was the housing, and they realised the shit was hitting the fan, big time. They didn't know what to do. So they were very nice, and I was still a bit intimidated again because they were kind of the council. They said, look, David, this is where the addicts are. St Mary's Hospital or somewhere. We think you might have some. You go there and tell them what you do. And if they think there's a chance, we will fund you for 3 months as an experiment. So I go there, again a bit daunted. Oh, look, he's got a stethoscope around his neck. He must be better than me. I do my thing, talk about my own recovery. And I go away, but there were 2 older Asian doctors that really knew their stuff and really understood the importance of the 12-step movement. Because I'm talking about stopping, but the bricks and mortar of this is about staying stopped. And we can all stay stopped in an institution. So I did it as an experiment, but what they did is they gave me the dodgiest, slippery, most manipulative bunch of addicts that they didn't know what to do with. They said, oh, David Charkham, he's fine. Give him the health group on a Wednesday. So I go in and I see these folk, and I think the big icebreaker was I wasn't a doctor or a nurse or a therapist or a psycho anything. I was someone that had been there, done that, and you know what the key to all this, Hattie, is the word identification. And much to everyone's amazement, within 3 months, 2 of those slippery, manipulative, unmanageable addicts had gone into rehab. So that was the way it was. So then the NHS took me on, but because what could they take me on as? An administrative worker. I was A and C grade, administrative and clerical. I can't even add up, but I had to be because they couldn't pay me as a whatever. And again, I didn't appreciate the enormity of what they did because there were a couple of people not just believed in me, they saw the future. They saw how important what I was saying was. And unbelievably, the only way they could keep me, they had to create a post. And I think that's unprecedented.
Yeah.
So I became the life skills and inpatient facilitator.
Nice.
And I did that for years. But in those days, budgeting was different. There was more money. But we had 2 beds on the Patterson Centre, which was the acute mental health ward. Now, I don't know if anyone remembers when I flew over the cuckoo's nest. It was crazy in there. And then they got a contract with the Nightingale Hospital, and we detoxed in a private hospital. And people, up till I got established, people were coming in, detoxing, relapsing, doing the circle, coming back. Now there's the health aspect, but the financial aspect is ridiculous. So for a while, they said, okay, because what I was doing is I was doing undercover recovery. I'd bring a recovering addict in. I wouldn't say much. This is someone you might identify. They'd tell their story. They wouldn't say anything about this fellowship, that fellowship. They just tell their story. Yeah. So the therapeutic value, one alcoholic, one addict sharing their experience with another is without parallel. And that stuff started to work. So for a while, in a sort of golden window, they said, okay, you want to detox? You've got to come to David Charkham's group 6 times before we put you on the list. Wow. Now, surprise, that worked very well. But then things changed, admin changed, budgeting changed. And I don't know what you call it, people's rights of choice changed. And it came, I suppose the word wasn't invented, but it was almost unwoke to tell someone you've got to do this, because everyone should be given choices. Quite right, but the facts were, it went back to, does that make sense?
Yeah.
But here we are in 2025.
Nice.
It's very, very different.
Yeah. Just a quick break from today's episode. Let's talk about something that doesn't get enough attention: mental health at work. If you run a business, you've probably seen it. Stress, burnout, employees who aren't performing at their best because they're struggling. The problem? Most companies don't know how to address mental health in a way that actually helps their team. That's where Omnia Corporate Training comes in. We provide CPD certified mental health training that's practical, flexible, and designed to fit into any workplace. If you want to invest in your team's well-being, and let's be real, happy employees perform better, tap the link in the show notes or visit omniahealthgroup.com to learn more. So, you've seen in the UK addiction field change dramatically over the years. What would you say has been the biggest shifts in both public services and cultural attitudes?
Good question, because the shift, well, first of all, let's look at the mechanics. The medical profession, the psychiatric world, understand the mechanics of the brain so much more now. The nuts and bolts, they understand it much, much more. So it's more scientific. There's more choices. But it's the bottom line. Are you ready to stop? We can help you stay stopped. And there's a lovely saying, which I hope people will spread the word. Please don't forget you can carry the message, but you can't carry the addict. You know, simple words, but boy, oh boy, is that a mega thing. And then we look at family. Family support. Do they understand? Don't they understand? What do they think? Because in my workshops, I will say to people, let's just imagine about those people who've never been in rehab, never had a problem, never had to consult a psychiatrist. They just see you, oh, you're going to Scotland in the countryside for 6 weeks. Fantastic. And you leave and you were a wreck when you left. You come back kind of bright-eyed and sort of bushy-tailed. What are they going to assume? You're cured.
Yeah.
Or my mother, she was almost a Victorian and she never got it because it was beyond her comprehension. And she said 2 things. I mean, she's been dead for years, but I could almost bring a tear to my eye. And I had that family conference. You go in and suddenly there's your mother and father, your sister talking truth to you. And her first reaction was, what did I do wrong? My son's an addict. What did I do wrong? It's about the family understanding. And not everybody has a family, but it's the loved ones. It could be the employer, understanding what's going on. The other thing that changes massively is this whole employment support system. You know, you couldn't grasp someone, oh, he's an alcoholic. Not an alcoholic in recovery, saving his life. It was like a stigma. It's not such a dirty word. Employees support it. Organisations support it. You have in-house therapy. Even there's a wonderful movement in the universities, because I mean, who could think people could go to university and sober? But there's support, so there's much more understanding, much more support, and occasionally much more funding. But how long that funding lasts, I don't know. So what's changed? Technically, they know more about it. But, you know, the support networks, they've been there for 90 years. They're still exactly the same. Exactly the same. I can't, we can.
Yeah. That unity, that connection.
And yes, and that in the world, when you're in the grip of addiction, it's a very lonely world. And they sometimes say it can be a lonely world. You can be in a crowd, but it's a very lonely, dark place. And it's the identification.
Having worked across NHS, private and international settings, how have you balanced the different philosophies and approaches of each?
Well, I balance them because the underlying message is identical, but I might be in, you know, a threadbare office one day or on a private jet the next. But the bottom, the loneliness, the pain, the shame, the trauma is just the same.
Yeah.
And I've seen it on, you know, from in those sort of super luxury worlds, and it's the same. It's the powerlessness. It's admitting the powerlessness and being aware of the ego. But then there is another level when you're in the eye of the storm of fame, that I call fame a mood-altering substance. And there was a long time ago a singer called Sandy Shaw in the 60s who was very, very big, and she became a therapist, and she contacted me, and she's seen how the double-edged sword of fame can trip people over. And she qualified as a psychotherapist, and her dissertation, I think, was called The Mood-Altering Effect of Fame. And that was really interesting. So I watched that. And the world of the superstar, there's their world, but then one looks at what's around them. What is protecting them or keeping reality at bay? Because ultimately, whoever's around you, they're on the payroll.
Yeah.
Whoever's around you, it is in their interest that you keep performing. And for most people around you, they're not going to say, don't be a wanker. You know, so it's another thing.
So the truth is never told, right?
Not really. I mean, I like to think that does happen. In my experience with several highly public people, you can be in a bubble. I mean, there you've got the story of Michael Jackson, the story of Prince. Who was going to say no? I mean, how desperate. And there's a wonderful story about Elvis. I mean, look at Elvis. They say the first rehab really was called Hazelden in Minneapolis. And it is said that he got as far as the Drive. As I believe Amy Winehouse got to the Drive of several rehabs. You know, it says it all, really. It says it all.
Just a quick break from today's episode. Have you ever felt like the kind of support you need just doesn't exist? Maybe you need help outside of normal hours. Maybe you don't even know where to start. That's why Omnia Neurodiscovery exists. We offer specialised, flexible mental health support, including intensive evening and weekend packages for people who need something different. If that sounds like what you've been looking for, don't wait. Tap the link in the show notes or visit omniahealthgroup.com to find out how we can help. You've supported clients in the business and entertainment industries, often in intense and highly public situations.
Yes.
What makes these environments unique in terms of recovery challenges?
Okay. Well, they can be unique because I work with several FTSE 100 CEOs, and that's an interesting world. Not without ego, I might add, but even in some circumstances where I've been undercover, I've been in boardrooms with these people. You know, I don't know anything about the finance world, but I've been in the boardroom undercover as perhaps I'm doing a book on this person. I'm a researcher. What's different? Well, great wealth, power. So the powerful Gordon Gekko or whatever, whoever the character is. It's like, how can that powerful man who may have come from nothing, made billions, more money than he can spend in his life, go, I need help. Weakness.
Is the power not another version of the fame, really?
It's hard, but then I have seen wonderful thing about working in some of the private rehabs, which I've done my groups in probably 30, 40 rehabs over the years. You know, the expensive ones, the cheap ones, the Malibu and the Beverly Hills and Switzerland. But when those programs are really working, I can have a group where I can have someone maybe who'd been a street addict next to someone who was a FTSE 100 person, next to a missionary, next to a policeman, next to a model or a superstar. If they get it, there's a level of humility that brings it down to... I mean, there's a lovely story about Elton John and Elizabeth Taylor when they went to the Betty Ford Clinic. Because all decent, all good rehabs, it's not all servants and chefs. It's like, oh, what's your therapeutic duty? Oh, you're on washing up today. You're doing the beds. And the story was that they put Elizabeth Taylor and Elton John on washing machine duty, and neither of them knew how to turn the frigging thing on. But I think addiction and alcoholism, if you're ready, it can be a wonderful leveler.
Ozzy Osbourne credited you with saving his life on tour, a powerful endorsement. How do you establish trust and structure in such high-stakes mobile environments?
Well, that's thank you for bringing that up, because he outed me. There's nothing private about that family. He outed me some years ago, and sadly he just passed. And I felt very privileged to be at his private burial very, very recently. I loved him very much, and we went from professional to friends. But before that, when I was a kid, Sharon was at the same stage school.
Right.
Sharon was doing panto in the Ada Foster Babes, and I was probably doing children's mail order modelling of knitwear. And I met Ozzy in the old days. I mean, if there's anyone who sees this on YouTube knows about black and white television. When I was a kid, I was doing Crossroads in black and white TV. And Ozzy, the Birmingham set was the Ozzy, it was the Move, there was the Birmingham music scene of the 60s, and we all hung out in a club, and I got to know them. And then we ended up meeting in the 70s. I think we probably had the same coat dealer in the 70s. But years and years later, Sharon called me out of the blue. And the chemistry was right, and we just hit it off. And I toured the world with him. You know, I mean, and he said he was wonderful. He's one of probably the nicest, high-profile entertainer that I've ever worked with. Because underneath all that Prince of Darkness and bat-eating stuff, he was a really nice kind of old-fashioned geezer. When we just watched the History Channel or we watched Carry On movies. You know, I loved him very much. It was wonderful, but what Ozzy explained to me, before the TV show The Osbournes, he was known, but in the heavy metal world.
Yeah.
He wasn't known
And
elsewhere.
not a household, yeah.
All right, one story I shall tell you. So I go to stay, I'm invited to stay. They then had a house in Beverly Hills. And I'm staying and I'm sitting in the kitchen. I mean, can you imagine? I've been in Marks and Spencer with Ozzy buying steak. Can you believe what it looked like in the till? Anyway, we did that. So we're in Beverly Hills and we're having breakfast, and he's going through the mail. And he goes, oh, look, I've been invited to Elton John's Oscar party on Saturday. Want to come? And I looked at him. I said, no, Ozzy, I've got this return ticket. I can't change it. Okay. So I go back to the room where I'm staying, which was Kelly's old room. I sit on the edge of the bed and I go, David, when is anyone ever going to ask you to Elton John's Oscar party and you're in the Imitation Game, which is up for 4 Oscars, ever again? Oh, so I go back and say, Ozzy, I would like to go. Oh, great. I haven't got anything to wear. I've got a T-shirt and shorts. And he goes, I'll ring Sharon. Hello, Sharon. David wants to. He's going to come to the Oscar party. He's got nothing to wear. And I heard Sharon down the phone, take him to fucking Prada. You know. So we're going. And next thing I know, I'm in the car going to Prada in Beverly Hills, and I go, Ozzy, would you mind if we went to Paul Smith? Because I know they cut for the smaller man. Oh, I don't mind. I mean, the way Ozzy was thinking, because of the ADHD, I don't mind whatever it is as long as it's quick.
Yeah.
So he took me to Paul Smith, and I was kitted out with everything: shoes, socks, shirt, tie, suit. And I had to think, do I get a tux? Do I get a suit? Anyway, the lot. And what's rather beautiful, I wore that outfit to his funeral a couple of weeks ago. So I loved him, I miss him. He was deeply loved by a lot of people. Anyway, but the point is, and the nicest thing, I'll move on because it's not all about Ozzy, God rest his soul, but when I went to the funeral, there's only 120 of us there after this big state funeral in Birmingham. Jack hugged me when we got there and he said, you know, the most beautiful thing, Daddy died sober. Because they always knew he was in good hands with me. Yeah. What a blessing that is, you know. Yeah. And the secret of me and the showbiz performers, I don't want their fame. Yeah. And what I see maybe in some of the young recovery coaches, before it was really regulated, I'm going to go on tour with so-and-so. I think he might play one of my songs. It's not what it's all about. I don't need that. I don't miss that. I've had a touch of it. Very nice. But I kind of do reality quite well now.
So, David,
yes,
thank you for joining us and sharing your remarkable journey from the stage and screen to pioneering recovery programs, working across NHS, private and international sectors, and mentoring the next generation. Before we close, is there one final message you'd like to share with listeners, whether they're in recovery, supporting a loved one, or working in the field?
Well, thank you. It's been a great experience doing this with you. And what can I share? Well, it's about honesty. It's about admitting defeat. It's about surrendering to win. It's remembering I can't, we can. Yeah, I think humility is a key word. And you're ready when you're ready. As I often say, I can't come into your workshops and inject you with recovery. It's here. We're here for you. It's here for you one day at a time. And you've been in the trenches. The war's over. So you can carry the message, but you can't carry the addict. There's a great new life with your name on it.
To our audience, thank you for tuning in to The Silent Epidemic. If David's story inspired you, please like, share and subscribe. Join us next time for more conversations at the intersection of mental health, recovery and resilience.